Indigenous Rights Radio, because knowledge is power.
Hi everybody, we want to say welcome to today's episode where we're taking a moment to reflect on the significance of the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. This is a day that is observed every year on March 21st. Now this day holds deep historical meaning as it commemorates a tragic moment in history. On this day in 1960, police in Sharpeville in South Africa opened fire on peaceful protesters who were demonstrating against the discriminatory apartheid pass laws. These laws forced black South Africans to carry identification papers that restricted their movement, a cruel tool of racial segregation and control. The United Nations in 1979 responded to these tragic events by adopting a set of activities as part of the second half of the Decade for Action to combat racism and racial discrimination. It was then that the UN General Assembly decided to dedicate a week of solidarity beginning on March 21st to stand with those who are still fighting against racial discrimination across the globe. This initiative called for action and reflection not just in South Africa, but across all nations, urging people to unite against racism. Since then, much has changed. The apartheid system in South Africa has been dismantled, and racist laws and discriminatory practices have been abolished in many parts of the world. The International Convention on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, adopted by the UN, has laid the groundwork for countries to challenge racial injustice and equality. In fact, CERD is now nearing universal ratification, marking a significant achievement in our global fight against racism. However, despite these advances, we cannot ignore the harsh reality that racism continues to affect millions across the globe. Communities still face the injustice, stigma, and marginalization that come with racial discrimination, whether in the form of systemic inequality, hate crimes, or social exclusion. On this day, we're reminded of the long and difficult road that we've traveled, but also of the work that remains. In this podcast, we pay particular attention to the Khoi and San people, and we ask activist Simon Witbooi about their place in the new South Africa.
Khoi and San, Simon Witbooi here, as it is stated on my ID document. I am Mabus, which is simply translated as Heaven's Broom or Hemelbesem. It's a name that is better suited to my prowess and my focus, goal, and my calling, my purpose. When it comes to tribal affiliation, you will find that yes, I'm a Witbooi. So if you do your history, you'll find that it's connected to the Nama, which I'm proudly part of. But as it is with all of us, basically, within the Khoi San or the Khamkwe or the Hamkwe people, or Kwe Ham, it depends how, what your chronological order is. The Busman, the Hottentot, we are very mixed as a big family. And I have Griqua lineage as well with my grandmother's side. On my mom's side, I'm also within the Kok family. So that is that. So yeah, we are, I for one, am very comfortable under the name Khoi San because it's not necessarily derogatory. For us as Khoi San people or Khamkwe people or First Nation people, however you want to coin it, words is not does not have the final say as to the authority of who a person is, So there's a lot of disputes, but we do find that will be the cause of a lot of negative things in the world that's currently, underway, but also the world to come. So we try to move ourselves, at least me and my groups that I find myself in, we try to move away from, names and words and it having the final say. It is a concept that was brought here the concept of the written word, not word per se, because word for us is mostly intention, word, sound, and power, but not necessarily the written letter word, which is today used in courts, etc., but missed the mark when it comes to the idea of truth. So it's a mouthful, but unfortunately, with everything that's going around, it's important to clarify that at the onset. We do see ourselves, or I see myself, and I'm comfortable under the Khoi San umbrella, because it's not really a derogatory name. You know, it was given like most of the other names, Khoi and these type of names. It was given, and at the time, it was contextually given by so-called scientists and so-called people who observed and for whom the letter was important. But we are always people who accommodate, and we are comfortable being who we are. That's why Khoi itself, Kwena, it simply means men of men. And if you go deeper into our understanding and our gnosis of the time, it would tell you that we are people who saw ourselves as human beings, and that in itself is, in our humanness, you have to find it there, and that is more than just letters and words. It is expression in action as well. We do find ourselves currently in a society that does not understand that in totality, which is obvious given our immediate past, that was of a very discriminative, if that is even a word, nature towards particularly the native people here, which were us, obviously, and that caused a lot of negativity to creep in, and confusion and chaos because of words. So when somebody asks me what is my thoughts on discrimination against indigeneity or the indigenous Khoi and San people in South Africa today, it goes back, and because for us it was always outside, which means that for us it's always God's purpose within the now. And the now includes both the past, the immediate now, and the coming now. So discrimination is in all those three facets of the oneness of who we are. And it is important to understand, if we look at discrimination in the book way, yes, if you look at laws, it is discriminating against us because of the letter aspect as one road I can venture in terms of discrimination. When I say law, if you just look at the acts that has been signed in the last couple of years, if you look at the expropriation law that has been passed, it really kind of circumvent the truth of the actual matter when it comes to ancestral land. Me coming from the Richtersveld and the surrounding areas, the broader Namakwa land, which is mineral rich, and not just mineral rich. If you look at the broader Cape Town, it is fauna, flora, weather, the sand itself, gases, the seas, the sea life, almost everything in nature. It's what people would have thought and say in general is like an Eden. So for us, it has always been, an Eden in that type of way. But because of these things, there's a lot of discrimination that has happened, and it's still there. And if you look at discrimination with regards to law, you will find that the cutoff dates, you can look at that for the land claims issue that was passed at 1913. If you look at which is a big issue for us. And again, we don't mind it really, because again, for us, authority is not something that's upheld in a letter. That is really let's call it for now a Western concept that crept in, and that somehow our African brothers, along with some of our own, has accepted in some sort of form or fashion. But within our understanding of what culture is, that can't be, it's immovable. It's immovable in its truth, and it stays because it's both spiritual and practical, natural as well. So that 1913 date, for instance, is a huge discrimination against us. If you look at the word colored also, which was placed there with the specific ideology behind it and motives, which has further divided our people. If you, even now, today, because our younger people who has grown accustomed to the culture of that word, which I was and am part of and proudly part of. I created even a song with other brothers of mine called I'm a Colored. And I was proudly and am still proudly of that particular time frame in my life. But once you get truth about why it was enforced and on us, you will understand that it is really, in essence, discriminative, again, if that's a word, to the indigenous people, which is us, obviously, in that fashion. So that is but two things. If I look at it with regards to law, discrimination with regards to equality itself, just in a broader sense, with outside of law, for instance, we always have this idea that if there's no respect, then there's no conversation, and so there's no inclusion if the attempt from the person in front of us is not including us or the person, both parties, at the onset of any ideology that needs to be rolled out in a space where the authoritarians are still living and existing. And most of the templates that's used, whether it be structural, if you look at architecture, when it has to do with commerce, when it has to do with agriculture, when it has to do with almost everything, has not been inclusive when it comes to respect. So again, those things can and they did continue with us being included in general. And when I say us, I'm not talking about puppets or certain so-called puppets, let me put it that way, or people that were specifically chosen to speak for us, which is a very wrong thing for us in culture, because for us, if you look at what the coat of arms says, it's always which is an inclusive ideology that we not aspire to. A lot of countries out there, their slogans or their coat of arms, or it says something of the sort, Eendrag maak mag, diverse unite, or unity in diversity, which is a longing. Harmony is a longing of humanity, but it was found here in general. So when you apply that, it is inclusive of nature in general. Now, I don't want to go too deep into the past that was found here, because once people started to write down the letters, it was that specific context of the day, which was not our finest day. People walking in skins and in the sun, and as dik geplooi and all of that. That wasn't our finest moment in general. Like the Mayan or the Aztec people or so forth, you'll find with nature and over years, the people themselves, they also change. With weather, people change, and then with the introduction to new systems, they adapt. And that's one of the great things, particularly about my people, the Nama, our adaptive nature to what is presented before them. it is a very spiritual thing. If somebody comes here with horses, which they did come with, we will find ourselves to become great horsemen or horse riders, or particularly with horses or so forth. It's an adaptive nature. When guns came in, our people were some of the best shots. My dad, my grandfather used to take guns from people who tried to shoot in just one shot. Hulle sê na Makwaland gooi die ouens om 'n draaie kraan open toe, which is kind of the skill set, but it speaks of our adaptive nature. So culture to us, for instance, is not the definition of the Western context. It is a growing situation, or was a growing thing. If I don't have a better word now, but it's something that it's like glory. It multiplies. It adapts to the specific nature. And the reason why we adapt is because, as you could see, there were no real structures built and so forth when we were found here. What our forefathers were found here, because we live a spiritual life first before it is practical. And spiritually, we always believe that there is, we can survive here. What survival is to other people is simple life to us. It's like, it was presented in a way. If you look at the desert, which was the harshest circumstances for people to survive, for us, it was just simply put a space and time where, in the utmost circumstances, we will be able to live and sustain and stay there, maintain in that position. And it's never something that will end there. For us, it's never a conclusion. It's never the finality. That's why what people call the nomadic nature, it is more of, it's in all of our facets of life. We didn't just use the herbs in this particular way that they wrote in a specific context. It is continuous in nature. It spirals, and spiral says, yes, it may be a circle, but it's a different circle every time, and that is spiritual for us. So I don't want to go too deep, but yeah, so those type of wording, it is very discriminative, again, if that is a word, to us, because people put it in their context and then bring templates, and then you have to fit in that specific template. Now, it is going to cause still a lot of arguments and questions and so forth. But for me, when it comes to what can we do to solve this problem, is for us, especially people of our descent, is to stay away from the word games, and the throwing of mud, and especially the particular agenda that's out there, where everybody wants to express their I am to the fullest, which is their right to do. But now it is to the detriment of the other person that they talk with. It's not the search for harmony anymore. Even most of our people's arguments that has gotten platform was mostly with the intent to say, okay, the chronological order, we are here first. Now, immediately in that space, it says, I'm better or something like that. And that is not the nature of the Boesman, the Hottentot. They try to refrain from that, because there's a spiritual power in being less, in a spiritual sense. Not that, but you know who you are, that can never be moved. It is the thing. I mean, where we are now in South Africa, that is the thing that has caused us to be under the spotlight of inheritance, all the beauty that is coming our way, the attention and the investment and the possibility, is because it is built on the back of people who kept themselves humble, which is why a lot of our people like the biblical book and books like that, because it speaks to who we are naturally, what is required in this day. Do unto others, like you do to yourself, whatever. That is the framework. That's why that we like, and that we don't mind living out. If you for instance, today, if you tell me, okay, you are not African or you are not this, I am actually queer better than you. If you come with genetic tests and all of these things, I always say, great, be it. Just go and but be a proper Bushman. Whoever you are, if you're black, you're white, and you say you are a Bushman, then be it. Because I know if you are that, what you claim to be, you will have to be inclusive in nature. Because to us, when you say, it does not just simply mean people coming together, different people or differences coming together. It says you in the community, and it says also the community in you, but it has a premise of love, which says that you have to give first. That is what all our forefathers did. They gave first, Everything here was given first. And I'm not talking about land and those things. We know you really can't give those things. That is Twiguaps, it is God's. It is not ours. However you want to logically put that, no deed, no paperwork can enforce itself. That is only agreement amongst people. But within our circles, in the circles of those who adhere to the value systems of the Khoi and San people, they know that words can't hurt and change the fact that of who we are and what is coming towards us. Nothing can change that. Land can't be taken and whatever, because even the land will respond. So I'm going a bit long, but I want to end by saying we sat down with an UNDRIP or UNDRIP workshop a year ago or so forth. And when we talk the environmentalists that we know now, everybody really want to save the world. And some people want to save the world through their gender aspirations or through their agenda of, say, natural resources or what they call resources and these type of things. It's just words. And if you can plant everything the way it used to be 100, 300, 500, 1,000 years ago. You can try to get the rivers to flow again in a certain way, get certain animal and livestock back there and everything. The land and the ecological system, what people coin as an ecological system, can't be sustainable without restoring the people in that space also. We are a very important cog in that so-called ecological system, and that will be the case. People will see it. So the cause and the chaos of where we are is because of the so-called intellectuals have tried everything that theory has provided, but spirituality is the main authority, and from anything that exists comes from the unseen. And the Khoi likes to live and work his fundamental principles from the unseen, or what we call the before. And therefore, I'm not offended by anything that comes my way or whatever. Yes, I might feel a certain way or whatever, but I try, because I'm harnessing this idea towards unity or harmony, knowing now in this dispensation, I already have the authority, not necessarily by some person or a group's paper or some idea from that has been tested this 100 years, 200. We have thousands of years on that. So with all that consciousness that is residing in me, both within my logical expression in the world and the word context, I am still the authority. And anybody who lives from their will still have that authority. So I want to inspire our people to always search and do everything in your power to extract and get and find programs and people and groups that will do everything to extract your highest potential, your God-given purpose and focus. Once you are there, especially the masculine body, as they call it today, once you find yourself in that rhythm and not schedule and time and so forth, you will see the authority in practicality around you. So, that is one way of solving it. I have seen it myself in all the facets of life and walks of life where I found myself, especially the last couple of years since COVID also, when a lot of people has been woken up to something other than what has been presented by the regime that was there. Not necessarily political, spiritual, whatever. It's all of that, that was not inclusive. The templates was never inclusive of our thoughts, our ideologies, our strengths. And so now the scales are being balanced, and we need to not only be in those realms and try to defend ourselves and whatever. No. Just live your Live your Gangans.
Simon Witbooi is a rapper, writer, poet, actor, and indigenous rights activist. For more on the rights of indigenous peoples, visit cs.org and follow Cultural Survival on Facebook and X.